USAID, the agency tasked with handing out your money all over the world, is being gutted as we speak after being exposed by Elon Musk and DOGE. Secretary Rubio of the State Department cutting the USAID staffing from 14,000 down to 294. 14,000 to 294. The kind of radical cuts Americans have pleaded for all over our government is happening right now at USAID. For years, as the U.S. government has grown like a cancerous tumor and saddled us with tremendous debt, people have asked to see movement like this. Washington never wanted to do anything to itself. They do now. There's a new administration in town, and the fury in Washington right now is music to Americans' ears. Trump has enraged the D.C. bureaucracy, which thought it could do anything it wanted with all of our money and grow as big as it wanted and waste as much as it wanted. Not anymore. A populist government exposing all the dark corners of our massive, overfunded $6 trillion U.S. government. And as Elon Musk and DOGE rifle through all of their secrets, the machine itself is melting down. This threat is truly existential for the American left, as we know. We're seeing just how manufactured their politics is. For it to thrive, they embezzle your money and force spread their radical ideologies here domestically, as well as all over the world. The latter we're seeing right now with USAID. That's essentially the gist of the scam, right? The same method that was used to radicalize our own country is what they're doing. And they certainly did it here as well. The trans agenda, BLM, et cetera, et cetera. Do you think that was organic? No.
Pure evil.
It was just dark blue money being funded, piped in to force everybody to think that that's how this country is when it's not.
No, it's not.
There was nothing authentic about the grip that the left had on this country, nothing at all. It was all a house of cards propped up by very dark money. It was all fabricated. And with their approval rating right now in the dumpster, all the left can do is scream and cry. They are losing it as one of the most powerful and effective men in the world exposes one of their most powerful grifts.
Elon Musk has got to go.
I'm here to simply say that Elon Musk, you're fired. Nobody elected Elon Musk to be president, but he has his grimy hands all over our administration.
This is a hostile takeover of our federal system.
They are working for Elon Musk and doing the bidding of an unelected, unaccountable, out of control billionaire puppet master.
He works for the
Are you
president
mad, bro?
of the United States.
You seem a little mad.
Moron.
They are in meltdown mode. Take a look at this next one here. The artwork behind Congressman Mark Pocan from Wisconsin. Take a look at this as he slams the most brilliant man in the world for investigating our government.
Shutting down federal agencies won't lower the cost of groceries one dime, but it sets up a gigantic tax break for Elon Musk and Donald Trump.
Tax break.
Okay, Mark. With the picture of Elon stealing an old lady's purse as Trump cheers in the background. The desperation. The full throttle desperation. It's so good.
It's sweet.
They have got to find a way to disqualify everything that DOGE is finding. They're scrambling to crush Elon Musk's credibility, like a defense attorney looking for any way to discredit the key witness to a crime. I got to get rid of this witness. I got to make them seem like they're not telling the truth. Don't pretend this isn't fun to watch, because it is fun. It's so satisfying to watch. The same people who cheered and celebrated right here with their masks on as they approved 80,000 IRS agents to attack Americans with the financial version of a rectal exam, those same people are now screaming threat to democracy as they are audited. It's so good. Imagine all the scams that have already been ended in these first couple of weeks. All of those scams out there. Today, 78 contracts terminated, according to DOGE, for convenience across DEI, non-performing media and consulting categories, including one for groundwater exploration and assessment in the Islamic Republic of Mauritania.
What?
Approximately $110 million of total savings. That's just one example of one from one day. One example. How many unelected bureaucrats got burned just today, how many filthy NGOs just got tossed off the gravy train. And again, this is just drops in the bucket, a massive bucket, a bucket the size of your house. It's just the beginning. The media, as usual, is doing the bidding of the government in all this, exploiting and over-exaggerating sob stories to bully DOGE into allowing the corruption and the waste in Washington to continue. Here's CBS News.
When we talk of aid, it's not just food, it's the trucks, the drivers. There's no one to pay the drivers. Staff have been locked out of their computers. They don't have access to their phones, their contacts. We are talking about the unraveling of an entire system, which will be hard to bring back. And as that system collapses, one source told us 8 million Sudanese could starve to death.
One source told you. Who's the source? I can guarantee you tonight that 8 million people are not going to starve to death because Rubio just slashed USAID. It's just not going to happen. But maybe money to fabricate government destabilizing trans protests in conservative African nations, yeah, that might end. Think about all the millions, probably billions of dollars they have sent to really countries that are in really rough shape to impose DEI and trans agendas, when the countries might have 20% of its people starving.
Wow.
Maybe our USAID money will start going toward things again like food, water, and shelter. You know, kind of the way it was all designed 50, 60 years ago. Maybe it'll start being like that again and in places that we deem worthy. A recent Reuters poll, remember this, finding that most Americans in this country support pausing and auditing the billions that we send all over the world. All right, Alina Habba, counselor to the president, joins us tonight from the White House. Alina, good to have you on. The biggest news of the night, I think, is the announcement from, I believe it came from Marco Rubio in the State Department, that USAID, which has been under all of this scrutiny, they're going to cut the staffing from 14,000 down to 294 people over at USAID. Your thoughts on that?
I think it's very consistent after what we've learned. Look at what we learned with Politico, 8.1 million going to Politico, who funded ridiculous stories, hoax stories, witch hunt stories during an election. To me, sounds like election interference that was being funded by the Biden administration's USAID. I can tell you the craziest things I have ever heard, Rob. I literally wrote them down because I want to get them right, because the American people will be shocked when you understand what we are seeing. 6 million funding to Egypt for tourism, 7.9 million to Sri Lanka so that they know how to properly state their gender pronouns. These are the numbers that we're seeing coming in. 4.5 million to combat disinformation in Kazakhstan. I could go on, and we've heard about all of the other things. So Rubio is doing something consistent with what our administration is, as I suspected. He's been great, as has DOGE. When you're not funding ridiculous things, you don't need thousands of employees on taxpayer dollars on payroll, because we're not going to spend money that way anymore. We're going to be responsible with the obligations and the responsibility that we've been given.
Yeah, and you know that the American people are loving watching this. I mean, we know from polling that the American people largely do not like foreign aid, do not like throwing their money all over the world. And so much of it is also just seen, so much of it are these left-wing grifts and it just really, like, why are we trying to spread leftism around the world? What are we trying to do there? And we've done it domestically as well. And right. I know you're fairly new to the political game, and I've never been in politics myself, but how fun is it to watch all of these politicians losing it as the government gets a massive audit from Elon Musk? The same people that were so enthralled to give us 80,000 more IRS agents to harass all of us, they get an audit and they're losing their mind. They're screaming all day long.
Yeah, I don't know if they didn't get the memo on November 5th, but America said we're not buying it. We're not buying it, Chuck. We're not buying it from the 4, now the 3. We don't really care if you want to scream and yell and you want to say we're horrible white supremacists, because we want to save money for Americans so we can lower your taxes and so we can do some good and get the economy in shape. We don't care, and America didn't care. On November 5th, what they said was, we don't buy it, we call BS. And I think that it's very fun to watch. In some regard, it's sad to watch. I think that some of the language that they're saying is incredibly concerning for me, to be honest, on a serious level. people that screamed insurrectionist are now saying we are going to war. We've got people like Tish James in New York instructing hospitals to evade an executive order and saying it's the state that will say it and you're going to lose federal funding, but you have to continue transgender mutilation. It's seriously disturbing, the TDS. I don't even know. I think we should come up with some new name for it now that we've won, but it's sick. And they don't care about America, that's for sure. They care about, having a TV moment, I think.
Yeah, I think you're right. And it really proves just how, I think it proves how flimsy, today's leftism is, that it has to be fabricated by government money, and kind of imposed in these countries as they're trying to, I guess, destabilize conservative nations. We heard some things, from the leader of Hungary about what USAID has done to his country, trying to push a different politic in his country away from him. I mean, this is what our foreign policy money is doing, and that's really sick. I want to get to one final thing before I let you go. Trump had 2 national prayer breakfast speeches this morning. He really had some amazing things that he said in both of these speeches. I think this was my favorite soundbite of the morning. Take a listen.
After years of decline, Americans are reasserting our true identity as a people ordained by God to be the freest and most exceptional nation ever to exist on the face of the earth. But we weren't that for 4 years. I don't believe we were. And we're getting there very soon, very quickly. I'll be able to say it, and we'll be able to say it again.
Amen.
The freest and most exceptional nation. We have been shamed by how great we are for a long time. That's over now.
Amen.
Yeah, it's over. I was at the prayer breakfast, and it was my first time ever attending. And the president really spoke from an emotional place today, and it was really amazing. After what he's gone through, I do believe he has a really strong bond with God, and he is bringing that into the White House and into America. And he actually spoke a tremendous amount, a lot about bringing in the 2 parties to sit down. And he said at one point, if we could actually just sit down and work together, could you imagine what we could accomplish? And that was really, really something for me, for a man that's been persecuted so hard by the left and by the politicians sitting in that room. But he's been an amazing leader. And I think he's just, his growth and with all the challenges that he's had, he's just tremendous. I'm really proud to be part of this administration. Yeah,
I think he changed after that bullet buzzed him on the ear. I can't imagine how that wouldn't change a person. It's how could it not? And he talks about that quite a bit. It's something to watch. Alina Habba, thanks for joining us tonight on this rainy day in Washington. Good to see you.
Thank you.
All right, Larry Elder joins us now, talking more about that. I mean, could you believe USAID just got cut by 98%? I mean, can you just, with me, can we just celebrate how good it feels to see any government agency just slashed in this way?
There's so many things to say about all of this. One of them is this. Have they ever thought that all we're doing by giving people all this stuff is making them more dependent, less self-sufficient? We ought to be talking about free markets, low taxes, rule of law. That's what makes a country wealthy, instead of giving them money and making them more dependent upon us. And I've seen polls over the years, I'm sure you've seen them, Rob, international polls. Consistently, the 2 countries that are the most hated are us and Israel, despite the fact that USAID gives $40 billion a year to various countries, and we're still despised. So what's the point? We're not well liked, and all you're doing is making them dependent, just like the welfare state has caused an epidemic of fatherlessness in our country. Giving these people welfare means they're not going to do the kinds of things to make them prosperous and self-sufficient.
That's exactly right. Exactly right. It's the tough love that we just refuse to give. It works in so many, just here domestically as well as in foreign aid. Michael Schellenberger, the journalist reporting both the USAID and the CIA, were tied to the 2019 Trump impeachment. Writing, USAID's defenders say it's about charity and development in poor nations. It's not. It's a $40 billion driver of regime change abroad, and now the evidence suggests that it, along with the CIA, were behind the 2019 impeachment of Trump, an illegal regime change effort here at home. Obviously, the impeachment regarding the Zelensky phone call, which, by the way, is completely legit now that we know that Joe Biden really was corrupt, and the CIA and the USAID were involved in that. Your thoughts?
We're also finding a lot of our money ends up in the coffers of terrorists. Look, Elon Musk was able to fire 75% of the staff of Twitter, and it kept right on going. We can't cut this waste, fraud, and abuse. Milton Friedman says there's 4 ways of spending money from the most efficient to the least efficient. The most efficient is your money on yourself. The least efficient is somebody else's money on somebody else. This is somebody else's money, meaning taxpayers' money, on somebody else. And the bureaucrats in the middle don't care what kind of effect it has. They just want to shovel it out. It is an absolute outrage what's going on. And while there are going to be a bunch of lawsuits, because if Donald Trump coughs up a hairball, they're going to file a lawsuit. It doesn't matter, because you're calling attention to this waste, fraud, and abuse. And as you pointed out in your opening, the majority of Americans want the funding from USAID cut. So Donald Trump's on the right side of public opinion. We'll find out whether or not he's able to do other things, including getting rid of the Department of Education, which Ronald Reagan tried to do and couldn't do. Newt Gingrich tried to do and couldn't do. Let's see if 47 can finally do that.
Well, yeah, we'll see. Larry Elder, good to see you, sir. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
All right. The raw footage of Kamala's 60 Minutes interview just before the election is a disaster, as CBS looks to settle a $10 billion lawsuit from Trump for election interference. That is next with Ed Henry and Rick Leventhal.
Hallelujah.